The Galactic Council had sent their finest diplomatic team to Earth. Ambassador, a tall being with silver skin and 4 eyes, led the group of 12 carefully selected representatives. They came from different peaceful civilizations across the galaxy. Their mission was simple. They needed to study humanity before deciding if Earth could join the Galactic Federation. The aliens arrived on a bright Tuesday morning. Their crystal ship landed softly in the designated area outside Geneva. Thousands of humans gathered to watch. Camera drones filled the sky like metal birds. The aliens stepped out with confident smiles. They had studied human languages for months. They believed they understood these strange two-legged creatures. Ambassador raised his 4 arms in greeting. His species, had not experienced war in over 50,000 years. The concept of organized violence was something they only knew from ancient history books. To them, war was a primitive stage that all civilizations passed through before achieving true enlightenment. The human delegation welcomed them warmly. General, a decorated military officer, shook hands with the ambassador. The aliens noticed the colorful ribbons on his chest but did not understand their meaning. Not yet. The first week went smoothly. The aliens toured beautiful cities. They tasted human food and found it surprisingly delicious. They attended concerts and watched sports games. They believed humans were a cheerful and creative species, perhaps a bit loud and emotional, but generally pleasant. Then came the educational phase of their visit. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, Earth's chief historian for the exchange program, led the aliens into a massive underground facility. The building housed the complete digital archive of human history. Billions of documents, videos, photographs, and records were stored there. The aliens were excited. Learning about a new civilization's history was always fascinating. Dr. Mitchell smiled nervously as she activated the holographic display system. She had been warned by her superiors to present human history carefully, but the Galactic Council had demanded complete transparency. No hiding, no editing. The aliens wanted to see everything. The presentation began with early human civilization. The aliens watched with interest as primitive humans learned to make tools and build shelters. They nodded approvingly when humans developed agriculture and formed communities. This was normal. All species went through similar stages. Then the first war appeared on the screen. Ambassador leaned forward with curiosity. 2 groups of early humans were fighting over territory. The violence was brutal but limited. The ambassador made notes on his tablet. This was expected. Young civilizations often had territorial conflicts. The presentation continued. More wars appeared. The aliens watched battles between ancient empires. They saw the rise and fall of civilizations through conflict. Hour after hour, the wars continued. The Egyptians fought their neighbors. The Greeks fought each other and then fought the Persians. The Romans conquered half the known world through military might. The aliens began to shift uncomfortably in their seats. Counselor L, a delicate being from a telepathic species, raised her thin hand. Her purple eyes were wide with concern. She asked how long this warfare period lasted before humans achieved peace. Dr. Mitchell paused. She took a deep breath. She explained that they were only viewing the first 5,000 years of recorded history. There was much more to see. The aliens exchanged worried glances. The presentation moved forward through time. Medieval wars filled the screen. Crusades sent thousands to their deaths. Kingdoms rose and fell in cycles of violence. The Mongol conquests left countless dead across continents. The aliens watched in growing horror. Sub-Ambassador, a being made of living crystal, began to crack. His species expressed stress through physical fractures. Small lines appeared across his transparent body. He requested a break. Dr. Mitchell agreed. The aliens retreated to their quarters. They did not eat their evening meal. They sat in silence, trying to process what they had seen. Ambassador contacted the Galactic Council that night. His message was brief. He reported that human history contained more conflict than anticipated. He requested guidance on whether to continue. The council ordered him to proceed. They needed complete information. The next morning, the aliens returned to the archive. Their eyes were tired. Several had not slept. Dr. Mitchell noticed their distress but had her orders. She continued the presentation. The world wars began. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Nations spanning entire continents threw themselves into industrial-scale destruction. Machines built specifically for killing. Chemicals designed to cause suffering. The numbers of dead climbed into the millions. Counselor L collapsed. Her telepathic abilities had accidentally connected with the emotional residue in the historical records. The pain of millions of humans flooded her mind. Medical staff rushed her to the alien ship. The presentation paused again. When it resumed, only 8 aliens remained. The others had requested to stay aboard their ship. They could not handle more. Dr. Mitchell showed them the nuclear weapons. She explained Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The aliens saw the mushroom clouds. They saw the shadows burned into stone. They saw the survivors. Ambassador vomited. His species had not vomited in evolutionary history. The biological response had been bred out of them generations ago, but his body found a way. The remaining aliens demanded to know when the wars ended. Dr. Mitchell explained that World War II concluded in 1945. The aliens expressed relief. Finally, humans had learned their lesson. Then Dr. Mitchell continued. Korea, Vietnam, the Cold War, regional conflicts across Africa and the Middle East. The aliens watched as humans continued fighting decade after decade. The methods changed, the scale shifted, but the violence never stopped. One alien, a mathematical being named, began calculating. He determined that in the past 5,000 years of recorded human history, there had been approximately 15,000 wars. He calculated that humans had experienced only about 300 years total without major conflict somewhere on the planet. The aliens could not comprehend this. Their own histories contained perhaps a dozen wars total. Most galactic civilizations had achieved permanent peace within a few generations of developing advanced technology. The idea of continuous warfare for thousands of years was beyond their understanding. Dr. Mitchell tried to explain. She talked about resources and territory. She discussed ideology and religion. She mentioned pride and revenge. The aliens listened but could not truly understand. Ambassador asked the question that haunted him. He wanted to know if humans were still fighting. He wanted to know if they had finally found peace. Dr. Mitchell pulled up current news feeds. The aliens saw ongoing conflicts, border disputes, civil wars, terrorist attacks, proxy battles between powerful nations. They saw weapons that could destroy entire cities. They learned about nuclear arsenals capable of ending all life on Earth several times over. Sub-Ambassador shattered completely. His crystalline form broke into thousands of pieces. His species could regenerate, but the psychological damage was done. The remaining aliens fled to their ship. The Galactic Council received an emergency transmission that evening. Ambassador appeared on screen. His silver skin had turned gray. His 4 eyes were bloodshot and unfocused. He spoke in a trembling voice. He reported that humans were unlike any species the galaxy had ever encountered. They were not primitive. They were not underdeveloped. They had achieved incredible technological and cultural heights while simultaneously engaging in constant warfare. They created beautiful art and terrible weapons. They wrote poetry about love while designing better ways to kill each other. The ambassador concluded that humans were the most terrifying species in the known universe, not because they were evil, but because they were capable of such violence while remaining functional. Other species would have destroyed themselves. Humans kept going. They fought and died and rebuilt and fought again. The council was silent. 3 days later, a galactic medical ship arrived at Earth. Teams of alien psychologists and trauma specialists boarded the diplomatic vessel. All 12 members of the original delegation required treatment. Counselor L had developed a condition her doctors had never seen before. She kept experiencing phantom memories of human suffering. She would need years of therapy. Sub-Ambassador had regenerated physically, but refused to leave his quarters. He had developed an irrational fear of bilateral symmetry. Humans had 2 arms and 2 legs, and this now terrified him. Ambassador had stopped sleeping entirely. Every time he closed his 4 eyes, he saw mushroom clouds and battlefield graves and endless columns of numbers representing the dead. The other 9 members showed similar symptoms: nightmares, anxiety, depression, paranoia. One had developed a compulsive need to count things, trying to calculate how many humans had died in conflicts throughout history. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. They debated what to do about humanity. Some wanted to quarantine Earth forever. Others argued for preemptive action before humans spread into the galaxy. A single voice spoke against both options. Grand Elder, the oldest member of the council, had lived for over 20,000 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had witnessed species evolve and go extinct. He reminded the council of something important. Humans had not destroyed themselves. Despite all their wars, despite all their weapons, despite every opportunity for extinction, humanity had survived. More than survived. They had thrived. They had built civilizations on the ashes of previous civilizations. They had turned battlefield technology into medical advances. They had channeled their aggression into competition and innovation. Grand Elder proposed a radical idea. Perhaps humans were not a threat. Perhaps they were the most resilient species the galaxy had ever produced. Perhaps their history of conflict had forged them into something unprecedented. The council debated for weeks. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity remained unaware of the controversy they had caused. They continued their daily lives. They went to work and raised families. They argued about politics and watched entertainment. They fought small conflicts in distant places while most of the world enjoyed relative peace. The traumatized alien diplomats eventually recovered enough to send a final report. Their recommendation surprised everyone. They suggested accepting humanity into the Galactic Federation. Not because humans were peaceful, they clearly were not. Not because humans were safe, they obviously were not. But because any species that could endure thousands of years of self-inflicted warfare and still produce kindness, art, love, and hope was something special. The aliens had come to Earth expecting to find primitives or monsters. Instead, they found something far more complicated. They found a species that contained both the capacity for terrible destruction and incredible compassion. A species that fought endlessly but also dreamed endlessly. The diplomatic team needed 2 years of therapy before returning to active duty. None of them ever visited Earth again, but all of them kept a small collection of human art in their quarters. Paintings and poems and music created by the same species that had built weapons of mass destruction. They never stopped being afraid of humans, but they also never stopped being amazed by them. The Galactic Council approved Earth's membership application with one unusual condition. All future alien visitors to Earth would receive mandatory psychological preparation. Human history would be introduced gradually, with trained counselors standing by. Humanity had been judged not on their worst moments or their best moments. They had been judged on their ability to survive all their moments. And somehow, against all odds, they were still standing.